Hello and welcome back to my craft room. I'm making dollies again today. I'm going to start a little doll making playlist so you can check if you missed the first one where I showed how I made this little now one-legged jointed doll. There's a reason why she's now one-legged. I've already made some improvements on how she's put together, and I've come back today to tell you about them, to show you how I'm going to adapt the template to make the next doll, and also how I'm going to make a little outfit. Thank you to everybody who's downloaded the template that I put on Gumroad. It's really nice to see the enthusiasm. A special thank you to people who donated some money for it, so I really appreciate that. What I will do is I'll put the patterns for the little clothes on a template as well. So again, you'll be able to go onto Gumroad and download them free. Here we go. Now the reason I've taken one of her legs off, this is the beginning, so this is a little prototype outfit I've been making. The reason I've taken the legs off is that I had a look at the doll that Bea gave me, which is what I was basing this on. Bea sent me these cardboard templates, and that's what I turned into the downloadable template. But Bea's doll, the legs are sort of floppy, easy to sit, and I had a closer look afterwards and realised that I'd stitched my legs all the way along, and it was quite hard work doing it. And actually what Bea's done here is just do some stitches just at the corners of the tops of the legs there, and that's enough to hold them securely, but it does leave them loose enough to be able to pose more easily, because most of the time I'm going to want her to sit down, I think. So I've taken both my legs off and stitched that one back on again, just in the same way. So I thought I'd just show you how I did that. I started by folding my thread in half. I'm using quite a strong thread, this quilting thread. Top stitch thread would do, something like that, something that's strong enough for you to be able to really pull on. I've just finished stitching this leg on, and now I'm going to go into my second leg. I'm using quite a strong needle and it's quite long. I'm going to take a stitch through that top corner, and then how best to show you this. So I've gone through the top corner of the leg and I'm going back through the body again, pull it through. I've got it hooked around the leg now. Okay. Pulled that tight, and I'm gonna now go back through again. So I think twice is enough, because this is quite strong thread and I've got it doubled up. And now, instead of coming back out the other side again, I'm going to put my needle in there but go along to where the next corner will join. A little bit further. There we go. Through that top corner of the leg, back through the body. If you have a problem getting the needle through here, a little pair of pliers is really handy. And then I'll just go through once more like I did with the other side. And to finish off, I'm going to put my needle through that stitch, I think, like that, and then back through the loop. And I can just put that needle back into the body and pull it out, just to hide the thread inside the body. So now they're still secure, they're not going to come off, but they will just bend that bit easier, so she'll sit more easily. The other thing I did was to move the arms slightly further up. I think I'd got them too low down, so I think whereas I attached them kind of there, I think really they want to sit there, and that's what I've done now. But it depends. I mean, it was fine as it was as well, but that's the other little change that I did. The next thing I wanted to think about was clothes. There are two ways really of looking at it with these little simple little button jointed dolls. I think the easiest way really is to do, and perhaps the most effective way, is to do just as Bea has done here. Make the sleeve on the arm before you attach the arm. So I'm going to show you that in a minute as well. And then you can just do the little top or dress or whatever you want to do, just as a kind of tube gathered into the neck. Really simple to do it that way. So I will do one that way as well, but I'm going to make another doll to do that with. But this one, because I've already put the arms on, I needed to make a top with sleeves. You can see all my trial and error pieces here where I've cut different sizes and shapes out and experimented to see which I prefer. And what I've come up with in the end, really two basic tops you can combine in different ways to create different garments, different outfits. This one got the kind of bodice part, and then and it's got set-in sleeves. It's just one pattern piece. Just cut it on the fold for the front piece, and you cut it twice, not on the fold, for the back. And then the back, you can turn it in like this and put little poppers or a little tie or whatever, just to finish it off so that it can be dressed and undressed. Or you could stitch it onto the doll and make it permanent, because these are really little art dolls. They're not so much playing dolls, so you don't need to be able to undress them and things, but you might want to. The idea is that this could be made in different lengths. You could make it quite a bit shorter, the little bodice part, or longer. You could make it completely long to make it like a tunic. What I'm going to do is leave it about the length I've got here, and then I'm going to attach a gathered skirt to it here. With the sleeve pattern, what I've done is, this is the sleeve pattern as I've done it, but I'm also going to experiment with extending the sleeve head up here to be able to create a gathered sleeve. I need to experiment with that and see if it will work. This is the one that I've actually used and tried out here. The other thing you can do with it is using the same piece for the bodice. If you, where I've done a dotted line there, if you bring it down like that, and make that the front instead of the back, so you could make it into a little vest, or what we call a waistcoat here in the UK. Leave the sleeve out, make that into a V-neck, or make this into more of a scooped neckline like this, more sort of scoop shaped. Do a little lacing back and forth to create a little laced up bodice, which I think would be really cute, and lace that up at the front or the back, whichever. There's so many different ways you could do it. You could just make it a sleeveless dress as well. This one is different. This is done with this pattern piece, and with this you just cut 4, 2 fronts, 2 backs. And it's slightly rounded out there to give it a sort of slightly belled shape when it's stitched together. I don't know if you'll be able to see that. So it's not just so straight up and down, because that fits her kind of body shape. And you can alter the length of the sleeves. You could put a frill around the neck with both of them. You could finish the neckline by turning it under, or adding a frill, trim, a bit of rickrack or something. Or what would look quite nice if you got the patience to do it is to make the bodice, again, put them right sides together, stitch them together, and make a kind of reversible one, kind of make a lining for it using the same pieces. Oh, maybe let's put this dress on so you can see what this looks like actually as well. Now, one thing you do need to bear in mind is this is a huge head. It might even be easier to get it on by stepping into it, and so it could be easier to stitch the garments together actually on the doll, so that it can't be undressed later on. This depends. I think this will go in, this one. Yeah. So yeah, up to you how you do it, but what I'm going to provide is the basic pattern pieces, show you how I do them, but you know, feel free to adapt and use them as you like. And if you wanted to make a little boy doll, they don't have to be girl dolls, do they? It would be nice to have this as a little shirt as well. Little shirt and waistcoat would look cute. I haven't done trousers yet. I haven't bothered to do a skirt because I would just gather up a piece of fabric for that. I don't think you need a pattern for that. Yeah, obviously you can make this shorter or longer, whatever you wanna do with that. It's just really basic. But you know, it took me a little while to work out, so I thought, well, you might appreciate having it all worked out for you. And again, there's room there to just turn it back and lace it up, or overlap one over the other, put a little popper at the top, whatever you want to do, or just stitch the doll into the garment when it's done. I could make a little dress like that and then do a jacket over the top, and I use this as a jacket. So you can kind of see, where I'm going with that. It's just a really simple, basic tunic and dress. Two very simple top patterns that can be adapted to do all kinds of things with them. You could also, if you made a little dress with this one with the skirt to it, you could put a waistcoat over the top. That'd look cute. Something I might consider doing. With long sleeves like this is perfect for a coat, and I'm sure you could experiment with making little collars and things as well. If you made this in felt or in leather, that could look quite good for the outer jacket. So what I need to do now is dig out some pretty fabrics, make a second doll, which I'll use this head for that I showed the other day, and I'll show stitching it on in the other way, the way Bea's done this one. I showed two ways of putting the head on, two non-wobble head things. This one is a posable head that can look, in fact she can look all the way around. Poltergeist. So I'm going to make up another doll, so that I can show the other method of putting the sleeves on the arms before you attach them on, the much more kind of simple method really. But to make up this other doll, I will use this is the template that you can download from my Gumroad. I'll put this link in the description box as well. And I just printed these both out to show you the difference. Now, so when you're printing off, obviously everybody's printer and PC or whatever you're using is going to be different. With mine, it tends to default to printing to scale to printable area or something like that, or it'll default to 80% or something. And I forgot to change that, so that's how this printed out. Now I could use these pieces. The doll would come out slightly smaller. This comes out about 15 centimetres. I had to go back in and check the printer actual size box. That's what it was in my print dialogue. As I say, it'll be different for different setups. So if you look here, this is, you can see, is the size I was working from when I did this template. This one, it's smaller, not much, but a bit. This won't be wasted. I'll perhaps make a slightly dinkier one. So one thing I just wanted to mention is that, of course, you can change all of this. The template that Bea sent me has got a nice little chin shape there. I just did pretty much, I don't think it's actually circular, I think it's slightly elliptical, I'm not sure now, a shape there. But you can change that. So I might, for this one, if I was, well actually I've already got a head to use, but I could, if I wanted to, I could decide that I want kind of a longer head like that. I could do that. There's no reason why I couldn't. I could decide I want this one to have much bigger hips. So I could change it like that. I think I will with this one slightly elongate the arm and just round it off a bit, because I think that would fit better if I'm going to put my buttons on. And I'll do the same, no, not with the legs, because the legs I'm going to do that way. but I think I might make the legs a little longer and just try a very simple jointing technique that I watched my friend Gabby doing. Gabby Chic Dolls, she is brilliant. I'm going to put a link to Gabby Chic Dolls underneath in the description box. Do go and check her out if you haven't already. She did 2 videos just this week showing how she designs and makes one of her amazing dolls from scratch, from sketching out the shape. It's brilliant. So yeah, I will put a link to her. But yeah, she did, with that one, she just stitched across to make a point where the leg would bend. So I'm going to try that with this one. I'm going to elongate the arm a little bit, just make the legs a little bit longer, and I'll stitch across them in the middle. So when I put them together, I'll end up stitching across that way. But I'll show you that when I come to it. So I'm going to get these pieces to the point where they're stitched together and stuffed. And when I come to doing anything differently from what I did last time, I'll be back. I made some progress here. I've stuffed the arms, I've stuffed the legs and the body and attached them together, and I've had an experiment with doing this kind of a joint there, just giving it some kind of shape there. And that was really easy to do. I'm going to do the old fold the thread in half method again. I just find it really useful making dolls. Yeah, fold it in half and put the 2 ends through the eye of the needle. And at the other end is that loop where the thread's folded in half. So now let's just get these about level. I can just take a small stitch there, not pull it all the way through, but go back through that little loop and then pull through, so it's automatically anchored. And then all I did to create this effect was to wind the thread around where I want the kind of a knee to be. Just wound it round a few times like that. Oops. And then taking a stitch or 2 through to anchor it. So I think I've got a lot of experiment to do with different kinds of joints. I think for the doll I'm going to make for Gabby for the Pass the Box project, I want to try ball joints, and I want to change my body shape again, so I'll elongate it here so that I can have a kind of a hip joint here, but that will be a future video. Now I've had a bit of a think about it, and I don't want this video to get too long, so I think what I'm going to do today, this doll I'm going to dress in the more sort of relatively simple way, just like Bea has done here, where you kind of make the sleeve on the arm before you attach the arms. And then I'll come back in and do a second video with the separate clothing that I've done like this, with the set-in sleeves and things, because I think otherwise this is going to just get too long. Let's put the head on first. Okay, well, I'm going to go back to my stronger thread now then to put this head on. Folding that thread in half and putting both ends through the eye of my needle. There we go, so loop at the other end. So I want to attach the head for this one kind of like that, and because it's going to naturally want to sit into that dip where I've stitched the nose through, so I think and so it's going to tip the head up, which I quite like. I quite like that. I guess the angle would change depending on where that dip ends up, but I'm quite happy to let it sit wherever it wants to sit, really. But I think what I'll do is I'll start here at the top of the head, because this will all be covered by hair anyway. I come down to here, I go through the top of the neck here. Yeah, because that little dip that I've created there from stitching the nose through is quite high up on the head. It's created more of an angle. If it was lower down on the head, it would be less of that kind of angle, but I quite like that, and I'm going to go with it. So very much making this up as I go along. Because I said in the first video, I'm not an expert doll maker. I just think this is something that's relatively simple that really anybody can have a go at. So that's kind of how I'm going to be fixing my head. So I've just got to think, what's the strongest way to attach this? If I look at what Bea has done, I think she's stitched all around that. Yeah. Kind of feel like I want to go down through the neck a bit. Probably should have got my longer needles for this one. Let's just experiment. Worst comes to worst, I'll cut this out and do it again. Just cut the stitches and start again. I just feel like it's going to help to give it some durability. I would love it if it could end up being able to tip at different angles like that. That would be really fun. Let's see what we can do. I'm going to change for that longer needle. Make a tiny stitch there. Back up. I'm going back up through the middle of that neck again. Shall I go all the way to the head? Yeah. Completely going on my instinct here now. And it's interestingly, it's given a little bit of a curve that way, but that's not a bad thing either. Okay, let's stitch. Now I'm going to come back down to here again. Coming back out. And this time I'm going to try going straight back through, so I can see I'm in the right area because I'm there, and I'm going to aim to go straight through the centre of the neck and come out there again. Because none of this stitching isn't going to show. It's interesting that I think if I do this again, I'll make sure that when I stitch the nose through, so I've got that little pitch that I'm starting with, it ends up a bit lower down. But I quite like the sort of attitude that gives to the doll. I think that's okay. Looks a little bit like it's going to be shrugging. Yeah, and that feels pretty solid actually. If I pull it tighter, it looks up, which is actually also quite adorable. I don't think I need to do a lot of stitching around there. I think that's going to be firm enough without sort of stitching all around there, because it's just another joint, isn't it? Okay. I love that I can change the angle a little bit. Really love that if I pulled it tighter it would look right up. Okay, let's go up through once more and come out of the top of the neck and fasten off there, I think. Yeah, I'm quite pleased with that. Now that is not what I intended, but I really like it. I'm going to take a small stitch across the stitches that were already there basically and go back through the loop to make a knot, because it's double. That one hasn't pulled through, has it? There we go. and then just take the thread away and inside the head, snip it off. Let's see how I feel about that. I really like the shape of that. I just think that's a bit different. To make the clothes for this one, I need to make the sleeves before I put the arms on, and all I've done is double up the fabric, and I've kind of drawn a sleeve shape around it, around that arm. I will stitch around and then trim it just the same as I did with the other pieces, and I'll do a little hem. I'll do that twice. Put the sleeve on and then attach it to the body after I've done the top. So I just need to be careful to do things in the right order. So I'm going to cut this one out and then cut 2 more pieces the same so that both sleeves are alike. Losing my voice again now a bit. All I will do is stitch these around there, leaving the bottom open, and turn them through, put them over the sleeves, and then they'll be ready to button on. So I'll do that off camera in a minute, come back and show you the next bit. And then to make the top, I've got this little strip. All I did for this one was to roughly measure around the body and then doubled it up to give myself enough space to gather it. I'm going to turn a small hem, top and bottom. I won't bother to turn over a double hem because you're never going to see it. This is just to tidy it up. And in fact, if I was going to trim the bottom with lace, I would just leave it raw like this and put the lace over the top because you will never see it. So I will be doing that, finishing the top and bottom however I like, and then stitching along there to create a tube. And then the tube can be gathered around the body to create the little top. And then the arms will go over the top with their sleeves on. Then I'm going to need a skirt. I made a little strip of fabric about 3 times the measurement around the body, and then I want to put a little tier on the bottom, and I made that twice the width of the main piece. So I'm going to hem along the bottom of this one, hem along the top of this one, gather this up to fit this piece, and then I'll be ready to gather this piece around the body. So I'm going to do all the prep work now off camera, and then I will come back and show you how the whole thing will assemble together. Right, I'm nearly done. I've got all my pieces ready to go. So stitch around both of the sleeves, just stitch around the top, turned it right way out, and then just turn a tiny hem. I didn't bother double turning, I've just turned it once and done some little rows of stitching around the edge because that's what I like to do. You could definitely trim it with lace or whatever, or a bit of ric-rac or whatever you like, and then just popping the little arm in. Done that twice. Need to make sure I get the arms so the thumbs are up on both sides, because otherwise if I don't want to do that and end up with like 2 left hands. The smaller strip, I just ran a hem around one of the long edges and then stitched it together to form this little tube, and I've left the thread there and rethreaded my needle, ready for the next step. And then I took the next longest strip so this one ended up 23 centimetres. This one's about 12 or 14 centimetres, something like that. This one was twice that, and this one was 3 times that. So, but it depends on how fat your dolls ended up. So with this one, I hemmed one of the long edges, and then ran a gathering stitch along the other long edge, and attached it to the shorter piece. I'm going to check it for length in a minute. I will turn over and kind of finger press a hem, but we'll wait and see how long I want that to end up. So the next step is to put this top on. Just gone around and finger pressed a small turning. It's not crucial, this is all a bit, make it up as you go along. So I'm going to run, and not too big,
running stitch all the way around the edge. So this is going to be my gathering stitch. I'm going to keep them reasonably small because it's a small scale doll. I don't want the gatherings to be too big, so if I pull that up, that's going to be about right. If I make the gatherings too big, it will look clumsy on this scale. So you could definitely, if you didn't want to gather this bit, you could just slightly shape it a bit like with the sleeve instead if you wanted, I guess. But this is just so easy. You haven't got to cut any shapes, it's all just strips, and none of the measurements are crucial. And you could layer up with bits of lace here. You could patchwork scraps together. This is going to now become the top on her outfit. So I'm going to put up my gathering stitches so that it gathers around her neck. And I can see already that compared to what Bea did with hers, I've got a lot more volume there, probably too much volume really. So this could definitely be a lot smaller, but I'm gonna stick with it because I think that looks cute anyway. Let's move the gathers around a bit. Yeah, it definitely doesn't need to be that that generous really. I'm now doing a couple of stitches to anchor it all. Oops, I pulled the thread out my needle, and I'm going to put that thread back through the loop to make a little knot. Just cut that off, that's on the back, it's not going to show. So that's the beginning of her little outfit, very simple. And now all I need to do is add the arms. Thumbs towards the front like that. Cutie cutie. I love her already, she's got a little personality. Right, I'm going to use a couple of buttons for this. So I'm going to go back to my other needle and this stronger thread. You could use button thread, top stitching thread, you know, anything that's got that little bit more strength to it, because you do need to be able to pull it tightly without it snapping. And I'm doing the same thing again. I've taken a generous length of the thread, but I'm folding it in half and I'm putting the two ends through the eye of the needle. So basically wherever I want a double length of thread, this is what I do. So I've got that loop where it was folded at the end. Just rehearsing where I want the shoulder to sit. I think like that. So I'm going to start by taking a stitch through. I've gone through the fabric of the top and the body there a bit. Just and last chance to adjust my gathers, because this is now all going to be stitched on, it won't be able to come off again. At the arm, make sure that sleeve's on properly, and I'm going to stitch right the way through, quite near the top, making sure that the actual arm is caught up as well. Just before I do anything else, let's just check I'm definitely happy with that. Make sure that top is straight, and I'll take a small stitch right through all the thicknesses and out the other side. Feels a bit gruesome at the moment, this bit. There we go. And then I'm going to thread on my second arm, making sure I go through about the same point, as near as I can get, so she doesn't end up lopsided. There we go. Small stitch and back through all the thicknesses again. There, just before I do any more, let's just make sure I'm definitely happy with that. Yep, I think that's cute. I feel like I want to just make sure I've caught a bit more of the arm there. I'm a bit worried that I've got my stitching quite near the top of the actual arm. Are they ended up the same length? Pretty much. So I think I'm going to come down a little bit now straight across again and out the same point on the other side. Making sure each time I go right through the neck, the body and everything. Now I'm going to add buttons. This isn't the tidiest job, but I'm happy with it. I'm happy with it. Like I said before, I'm by no means an expert doll maker. This is more of a, if I can do this, you can do this. I think the easiest thing now is going to be to bring this thread out here where it's not going to show. Oh, so it got it through, and fasten off here. Let's go back through that loop. And take the thread away underneath. It'll be hidden inside the body. So it feels strong and feels reasonably tidy. There we go. I don't even really know if I've done that right, but she's jointed. You can move her arms. It all feels pretty secure, so I'm happy with that. I love the way she's ended up looking up. You definitely could do that and just make it longer and call that it. You can see how using a different fabric, I've gathered a little bit more. My sleeves are quite a bit wider and of different colours, and you can see what a different look you get from basically the same method. So then we want to add the last bit, and I'm just sort of roughly thinking, how is this going to look? Do I want it like that, so it's quite a long dress? I could have just gathered this one around the top, I suppose. Should I do it like that and gather it around that point? Yeah, I just like the proportions of that better. So I'm going to turn over about that much, wasn't it? See, so many decisions, so many decisions. I would usually use brighter colours. This is quite a departure for me. I'm going to go with that, so I'm going to press this much under all the way along, run a gathering stitch quite close to the edge, and gather it around the body in just the same way as I did that first bit, and then I'll be back because that'll be it for today. Here we go. I've pulled that gathering up around there. It is a bit more, there's a bit more volume here than it needs really, and this is a bit more kind of frou-frou and girly than my normal style, but it's just, she's just developed the way she's developed, and I'm happy with her. I can now, if I wanted to, I could add a piece of ribbon around here to finish her little dress off. I could put some buttons on, some lace around the bottom, and of course I've still got to make her little shoes or boots. So what she's making me think of now is she's going to end up being like one of those Holly Hobbie dolls I used to love so much in the 70s. That's what it's putting me in mind of. So yeah, if I did it again, and when you compare this, let me just put this stitch in. So I'll just finish that off there. Oh, she needs a bow at the back, I think. I've gone all girly. It is, it's just taking me back to Holly Hobbie days. I spent many happy hours making Holly Hobbie rag dolls when I was a kid, and I'd completely forgotten about that till I did this. I had a pattern for one, and I made about 4 of them, and I remember a nearby neighbour offering to pay me to make one for her little girl for Christmas. She would buy the materials and I'd do all the making. It took me hours and hours and hours, and she gave me 50p, and I was thrilled to bits. 50p. She's a bit mean now, actually. There's lots more scope here to further decorate. She needs her little boots. I think it's definitely got to be boots to look Holly Hobbie. And now I'm thinking she's going to end up with a bonnet, which I totally hadn't thought about. But yeah, you compare the very different styles. There's less volume in this, and obviously very different kind of print. This is a softer cotton that Bea's used here, a softer, finer cotton, and this fabric actually has quite a lot of body, and that's partly what's giving it that sort of making it stand out like that. But I'm going to leave it there for today, and then I'll come back in the next video and show how I made the more shaped clothes, because I think otherwise this video is going to get too long. And I think this is such a nice, quick, easy way to do it. The only thing is that you can't then undress it. These clothes are on there. I like the idea that with these more sort of shaped clothes, I've got the scope to layer them up, to do little laced bodices and denim jacket or waistcoat. There's lots and lots of scope here. So I'm looking forward to having a go at that, but I'm going to do that in a separate video and leave this one for now. So this is gonna be my thumbnail. Like I said right from the beginning, I am not an expert doll maker. My purpose here is to show that really anybody can have a go at making a doll, and what I love is just the way their little characters come out. They kind of go their own way and change as they go along and turn out to be who they want to be. Once I've done the other kind of clothes, then I need to get into doing the hair and accessories. I think the hair is going to be pretty much the last thing, so I think it's going to get in the way of everything else. Once I've got the hair right, I won't want to be throwing her around and things, so that will probably be the last thing. I also need to put some eyes in and add a little mouth and little rosy cheeks. I love her. If I do say so myself, I love her. That's probably a good angle to show her out from a thumbnail, isn't it? That's it from me for today. I hope you enjoyed that. As I say, it's really, for me, this little mini series is kind of about exploring the different ways to make these little dolls, and just having a bit of an experiment, taking you along with me, and just showing that really, as I say, if I can do it, anybody can do it. Beautiful little doll that I showed that Bea made. That was the first doll she'd ever made, so it just goes to show what you can do. This one has completely taken me by surprise, the way she's gone. And it's taken me back to some very happy times in my childhood that I had completely forgotten about. I very much associate the Holly Hobby thing with my granny. She loved Holly Hobby as well. Okay, so the next time I come back, I'll show those other kinds of clothes, and then accessories. I'll do boots and a little bag. Maybe now I'm thinking a bonnet or a hat, some kind of hat. I think when you're making dolls, I think you need to listen to what they're telling you as they develop. And she's telling me she wants a hat. And then the final thing will be finishing off her face and adding some hair. So there's probably 2, maybe 3 more videos to come in this little series. Hope you're enjoying it. Thank you very much for joining me, and I will see you again really soon.